Are you good with lights? Do you need stuff?
Oh, we're recording.
What?
We're recording.
What is endometriosis?
Endometriosis is a condition where the lining of the uterus is planted in outside of the uterus around the peritoneal cavity, lining the organs of the female pelvis. So sometimes the cells that are lining of the uterus are spilled out of the fallopian tubes. It's a genetic condition. And when that happens, they go and implant themselves over bowels or ovaries or other internal organs. And that's how endometriosis forms. And it causes problems with that, of course, going forward by those cells activating every month, just like how they work inside the uterus.
Well, how old were you when you started feeling these symptoms of endometriosis?
Well, I started menstruation like 15, a little later than some women, and then I didn't get diagnosed till I was 20. So there was a time period where my mother had very painful periods and said it's just that's how it is. This is how periods are. And it wasn't until I had I was 20. I was a preschool teacher. I'm at work, and I'm on the floor in a ball with 12 toddlers around me begging, to go home. And my director comes in and tells me to come to the office, and she sits me down and she says, I think you have endometriosis. You need to go to the doctor right now. And if it weren't for her saying that, I don't know where I would be. I don't know who else would have come to my life and told me, hey, this is something that you need to take care of right now. Every single month, you're on the floor in the classroom, this has to be taken care of. So I remember that appointment. I remember going in to the doctor and him just saying, I think you might have endometriosis.
The doctor brought it up.
I told him my symptoms, of painful, heavy periods, lasting a week or more, just constant heating pads, just constantly having to, I don't know, take care of myself, in a way that I didn't see other women doing when they had their periods,
right.
So no other women was leaving work when they had their cramps in their periods. So it was really beneficial that woman saw that and called me out and led me in the right direction.
Right.
I actually, no joke, I actually went on Facebook this morning thinking about this interview, and I friended her and I wrote her and I said, hey, I just wanted to let you know, I don't know if you remember me and of course you did, but I don't know if you remember me, but you saying that, like, it put me in the right path,
That's wonderful.
There it is. The first one.
Tell me more. So does she have endometriosis, or does she just know about it?
To be honest, I was 20. It was 16 years ago. I don't remember.
Oh, now you must ask.
I have to. I know. I wanted to keep it.
No, we're gonna bleep all that so no one knows your age. You just
Okay. Okay. I thought you were serious. Like, I did something wrong.
I'm gonna get one
I'm
of
trying
these.
to be so good.
Yeah,
we have the
I
things
had to
there.
change up the tone.
Mm-hmm.
We just
All
started.
right.
Can't,
All right.
All
right.
Can't mess up her makeup now.
It's okay. So tell me what's up. So
okay.
What's up?
Give me a second.
Yeah. I felt really compelled to just reach out to her today and say something.
I think that's fantastic. Did she write you back?
Of course, right away, like within a second, and yeah. So I remember being held going into my doctor and him saying, I think you might have endometriosis, and he handed me a pamphlet with very outdated pictures of people trying to live their lives, and these little pictures of endometriosis on the uterus. And hearing things like, oh, you might have trouble trying to have a baby. Well, I said, well, that's not going to be me. That's a possibility. You might have to have surgery. Oh, well, that's not me.
Right.
I just have like a little issue, and so after years of being on the pill and like it shutting my body down and kind of putting my body in a state of, the endo kind of not growing. As soon as I went off the pill, my whole body went nuts. And I broke out like crazy. I still have scarring from that. And I went off the pill because I was trying to get pregnant. I just got married. And close the door. Can I close the window?
Yeah,
I mean,
Did you know when you started dating Merritt that she had it?
No, because I don't think you knew when we started dating that you had it. You knew that, like, I feel like I remember you knowing that something was going on, but you had never officially had a diagnosis.
That's true. I got the diagnosis the same year that we met.
Yeah. So, like, I knew that she had absolutely terrible periods, and I knew that anytime within like 3 days of her period starting, she wouldn't want to go out anywhere, especially if there was any chance she was going to be cold or have any sort of like sudden shock to her system or even slight shock to her. You just wouldn't want to go anywhere.
I told him I wouldn't let you touch me for that time either.
Oh yeah. Like it was just like the whole 3 days life was on pause. And I didn't know what that meant. It was fine though. It was just something that we just got used to. I guess we were talking this morning about how at the beginning of our relationship I didn't understand what endometriosis was or what your condition was, even if we didn't know at the time that it was endometriosis. And it was hard for me at the beginning that you would unexpectedly not be able to go to something because you were expecting your period or because you were on your period or because you just didn't feel well. And I think you did it was less about not feeling well at the time because I think you kind of pushed through it at that point, even if later on you started recognizing when you didn't have enough energy and learning how to say no. But I think that was hard for me because typically, like, I made a lot of plans and I wanted you to come with me, and it was hard for me that last minute you weren't able to come. And over the years, understanding more about endometriosis and more about you helped me be more patient and understanding about that.
Totally. That's awesome. You've come a long way in helping me take care of myself.
Yeah. I think at the beginning I was one of the people who was sort of like pushing you along to, like pushing you to kind of push yourself harder and come out anyway and do it even if you didn't feel totally up to it. And now I'm on the other side of like defending you when other people and like explaining it to them because I know you've explained it a million times,
Totally.
Once you confirm endometriosis, how do you begin to treat it?
Once you confirmed endometriosis, the definitive treatment is surgery. Surgical excision is the gold standard treatment for endometriosis. Anything else would not be a complete treatment for endometriosis. There are medical treatments that are out there that's being discussed and offered to patients. There is ablation therapy, but none of those are the definitive and conclusive treatments. What we recommend as to treat endometriosis in the best fashion is excision of endometriosis and removal of those lesions over ablation or medical treatment.
Are there any emotional effects of having endometriosis that you're aware of?
Endometriosis puts women in a tremendous amount of emotional stress. There's no question. It's a lifelong condition. It's a debilitating condition that is very difficult to treat, and if it is treated, it's very difficult to get rid of it completely. So that puts women in a tremendous amount of stress and, of course, altering lifestyle, living with pain. It's very, very difficult thing to deal with endometriosis, live with endometriosis. Many women don't get their diagnosis until many, many, many years. They suffer through what they suffer and possibly eventually get diagnosed and treated. So the time from starting to experience those symptoms to the diagnosis could be quite long period depending on who and where you get your health care from. And that is the time frame that I think many women uh, go through a lot of stress and suffering. Not only that, but treatment is again not very simple and easy and straightforward, and the whole condition is extremely complicated and definitely puts quite significant amount of emotional strain to women. That's why treatment of endometriosis is really multidisciplinary. It's not, in my mind, endometriosis is not something you just go have surgery, you're done, go ahead, no more. It's not like that. There's a lot of emotional support that needs to come through that. It's not something just as a surgeon I can really offer a patient's cure or treatment. I think there needs to be some psychological support component attached to this. And that's why support groups, um, socializing with similar patients that have similar experiences and their experiences, I think is critical. Having family support is critical. Work support is critical. There's a lot of components of everything around, where we live that needs to be really supportive of someone who's going through endometriosis.
Do you have any advice for partners of people with endometriosis, since you've been there and you've experienced it and you're learning with Merit?
I think it sounds so stupid, and I know that partners have probably heard this a lot, but like, listen to your partner. They're not making it
I don't
up.
think
And
that's stupid.
well, but I mean, I think partners think that they're listening. Partners think that they're respecting and paying attention. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, well, yeah, of course, that's obvious. Like, do more of that, more than you think you are already doing, more than you think is enough. Because it's not, like, whatever you're doing now is not enough. So listen more and respect more, because whatever they're saying, they're probably not even saying the whole of it. They're probably only saying a part of it.
So when you met this wonderful and amazing man, at some point you have to tell him that you have this illness. You don't have to, but you can choose to tell him you have this illness. How was that mentally getting prepared for and actually delivering the news? And I'm assuming he received it well if you're still together.
Right. Well, with this disease and everything I've been through, I kind of walk around the world with this like metal armor and both middle fingers up. So I was like, hey, this is what's up. And if you're not cool with that, let me know so you can move aside and I can go on and be myself. So I pretty much just stated it as, hey, this is something that I'm dealing with. I have an autoimmune disease. I have endometriosis. I can't. I'm not able to do as much as most people. I said, don't Google it.
Yeah, don't.
But yeah, it always makes me nervous to. I'm sorry. Crazy.
So what does it do to the body, or what are the symptoms of endometriosis?
Symptoms of endometriosis are pelvic pain, ovarian pain, endometriosis-related scarring, which can also cause pain, infertility, sometimes bowel problems like discomfort with having bowel movement, or it could be urinary problems such as pain with urinary symptoms. Symptoms can be various and sometimes quite surprising depending on where those endometrious lesions are located. anywhere those endometriosis lesions are located could cause problems at that organ. Sometimes we have some really unusual endometriosis circumstances where the endometriosis can be in the diaphragm, where it could be painful bleeding. It could be on the appendix, and it could be almost like appendicitis pain. So it all really varies depending on where they're located. But in general, the symptom is pain. And that is caused by the inflammatory reaction that is caused by these implants that are located in those organs. Every month, these cells work like they're as if in the uterus, and when they're doing what they normally do, like having a period, those cells create such inflammatory reaction in that area, what causes the pain in that particular area. So usually the pain that we talk about with endometriosis are located at the location where those endometriosis lesions are typically implanted.
I think it's hard feeling like I let you down sometimes. From little things like not being up or going out to bigger things like not being able to make you a baby. But you've been very understanding and supportive. But that we talked a little bit about that. The guilt doesn't really go away.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even if it's not rational, and even if I know that there's nothing I can do about it, it's hard feeling like I let you down.
You know, you used to apologize a lot. And every time I say, there's nothing to apologize for, please stop apologizing. And you've gotten better at it, but you still do sometimes.
Yeah. I know during the year that we were trying to get me pregnant, I would apologize every time I got my period. And then I would have a breakdown for about 24 hours, and then I would, get back on the wagon and try again. So
there's nothing to apologize for.
Yeah.
I know you've shared too that some folks with endometriosis, their partners are not very supportive, and
yeah, oh my gosh, I hear stories of people's partners divorcing them and leaving them because they're not the women that they've married, and my heart just breaks.
Yeah. There are stories of partners leaving, friends leaving, I'm so grateful that you have a supportive partner, and that I do, and I wish that more partners were more aware. And I feel like you are so supportive because you've done your research and because you've paid attention to Merritt and her needs and what she's going through, and you just delve into how you can help. I really wish that there were more people out there like you. Yeah. You have made her journey better.
That's for sure. I think there's a lot of people who could have made your journey better as well. I don't think that I'm any particular superhero. But I think if you're comparing me to people who leave their wives because yeah, that makes me look good. But
even there are even fantastic husband-wife or just spousal relationships that I hear of where the spouses aren't that supportive, period. Yeah. They stay with them, but they still get upset if they can't come to a function or a party, or they have to go to bed early, or they're too medicated to function and I have to take care of the kids. There are good people out there who are still not as understanding or supportive, or I wish there was a way to reach those people.
I wonder if at some point too that there's, I guess the endometriosis community is growing, I think, and I know you've done a ton of that work here in San Diego, and I have a friend actually who was my first introduction to endometriosis. I met her in San Diego, and we stayed close throughout the years, and she, at least as of a couple of years ago, she was hospitalized every month, and has had so many surgeries and all of that, but her endometriosis was very, very bad, and so she was my introduction to endometriosis. And when I told her about your group and Blooming Uterus and the community here, she was just so excited. She doesn't live here anymore, but she's so excited for the people who end up having access to that. And I think that as that community grows, there will also be communities of partners of folks with endometriosis. And I know there can be caregiving fatigue, especially for folks who have, you know, worse off than you and who aren't able to take care of the kids or go out at all or do X, Y, or Z. And maybe there will be more information about caregiving fatigue and how to get support before you let that influence your relationship with the person who needs caregiving. And not that that should be any of your priorities, but those of us who are partners and spouses, maybe that's something that we can work on as well, as supporting other folks who don't know how to support their person.
Wonderful ideas are forming in my head.
Yeah, me too.
Can you tell me how it felt for you when you found out that you were going to have a child?
When I thought I was going to have a child?
Yeah.
That was 3 years. 3 years I battled, you know. And people told me in my life, they said, just give up for a minute, just take a break, you know. And I wasn't going to. That's not me, you know. I found out who I was, you know, and I went through IVF. And I was pregnant with twins, you know, which I wanted because I wanted 2 babies, you know, and I didn't want to have to do IVF again, you know, but my body did not do great through the pregnancy, and I lost my son's twin. You know, but Liam fought, my son fought on, and it was a tough pregnancy. You know, my body wanted to end it at every turn, you know. God, it was a mix of emotions finding out I was pregnant, because I had lost 3 babies already. And it was hard to think about the possibility of a baby actually making it through, you know, especially after losing his twin. I just thought, there was a moment I gave up on the whole thing, you know. Okay, he's gonna go too, and I'm gonna have to accept that, and then I'm just gonna have to give up after that, you know. Like, I gave up through the pregnancy. Wow. And yeah, he just kept, oh my gosh, sorry. No, sorry. He stuck.
That's good.
And he was a preemie. I ended up getting severe preeclampsia. And almost losing both of us. And I had always wanted to be a mother since I was like a little girl. My mom had always said that I would carry baby dolls around and blankies, and I was always with a bottle and a baby doll. You know, it was my dream. And I actually went to college for child development because I wanted to be better than my parents were. You know, this was my only dream, was to be a mom. So when it finally happened, it was pretty amazing. You know. Okay, what now?
Can you have any more children?
So, because of endometriosis, I'm not able to have any more children.
Why is that?
I wanted to have 5. Like, that was my goal. I remember career day in high school, everyone's like going around and I'm just following my buddies. I'm like, where's the class to like pump out 5 babies? Like, that's what I want to do. I literally said those words. I'm like, high school class. All right. Where's the pump out the babies class? Like, that's what I want to go to. Like, I wanted motherhood more than anything in the world. And so I did. I fought. I got through IVF. And I had my baby. And once he was about 2 or 3, I decided I wanted another one. I might be able to do this naturally, maybe. I had heard that with endometriosis, if you have a baby, it might increase your fertility afterwards. I'm not sure if it's a myth or not, but so I thought, okay, I might actually have a chance to do this naturally. Like, let's give that a go. So I went into my OB's office. Totally spit. Went into my OB's office. Okay. So I went into my OB's office and I let her know that I was interested in trying again. And because of the challenges of my pregnancy and because of the severe preeclampsia and my son being a preemie, her words to me were, I'm not exactly concerned about your new baby that you want to have. I'm more concerned about how you feel. I'm more concerned about what you think your husband's ability is to take care of his son by himself. I think I said that right, but does that make sense?
So that you were going to die?
She was inferring that I would not make it through my next pregnancy if I tried.
Wow.
So I did not go that route. I decided not to have another baby, and then just a year or so later, I ended up having to have a hysterectomy. I found out that after having my C-section with my son, who's a preemie, that the endometriosis got into the uterus that way. This is probably not like...
I don't know.
Okay, this is from my doctor. So he says that because I had the C-section, the endo had the ability to infect the uterus.
Interesting. Did it actually go into the tissue?
It was in mostly by the C-section scar was the adneo, and then it was
So you
infected.
did get an adenomyosis diagnosis?
I got an adenomyosis diagnosis.
Okay.
With an ultrasound. I remember being in the ultrasound with a woman, a nurse. And usually the ultrasound technicians are very quiet. You know, they don't tell you anything. They don't give up anything. And as she's doing the sonogram or the ultrasound, she says to me, you know, we have this new technology where they can actually find endometriosis if it's in the muscle wall. So for her to say that to me, I was like, well, I know something's up. I know that there's going to be something. And she ended up giving me some kind of sweet little pep talk in there, you know, just amazing woman, probably a mother as well, just trying to pay it forward. And she gave me a little pep talk and sent me on my way. And I got the adenomyosis diagnosis after that. So the uterus had to come out.
Yep.
I had to have a hysterectomy.
So for the people who don't know what adenomyosis is, it literally is endometriosis inside the uterine wall.
Yeah.
The fibrous muscle tissue. And the only way to get rid of adenomyosis is by getting rid of the entire uterus. So he did the right thing.
He did. And I mean, I don't struggle with it because I know it had to happen.
Right.
It wasn't a doctor saying, oh, if you get your uterus removed, endometriosis will go away, because a lot of women are told that.
And it's not true.
And it's not true. You can't cut your arm off and think that, you know, your disease will get better. It's not going to happen. Right. So it was something that had to happen.
You had a very valid reason.
But I still regret it every day. Every day.
No more babies.
Every day. Oh, don't hurt me.
I'm sorry.
Don't hurt me. I want... You know what I really want, though? I really want to just be able to be mom enough for him.
You are.
You know? I want to be enough human for him. And I'm not always. I don't always. I go to bed knowing that I didn't do my best for him, you know? I know it. And I want to try harder for him. I do. I want to give him all of me. I just can't.
You will, though.
I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that the surgery will give me relief and ability. Right. You know, the doctors usually, when they ask me, like, okay, well, what's your goal here? Physical therapy or whatever. What's your goal?
Cut it out.
Yeah. What's your goal? My goal is to be able to sit on the floor with my son and play. And be able to get back up off of the floor. My goal is to be able to run in the backyard with my son. Pick him up at 6 years old and give him a real hug. Those are my goals.
These are the things that people don't think of that this illness robs you of the ability to do.
Just one monkey hug, like one real monkey hug. I would trade everything,
Do you have any words of advice for women who think they may have endometriosis?
Words of wisdom for women or they may think that they may have endometriosis. The most important word of wisdom I can think of is finding the right doctor. Because, again, even if you think you may have endometriosis, even the doctor thinks that you have the endometriosis, not all doctors are equally skilled in treating endometriosis or have the same expertise in endometriosis. You must find a doctor specialized in endometriosis and endometriosis surgery. Not everyone will be able to provide the same quality of care for such condition. And that's my biggest advice that I'd like to give my patients or everyone with endometriosis. Number one, research and find out if your symptoms may be consistent with endometriosis. Bring it up to the appropriate doctor that has experience and knowledge in this area and find the most experienced doctor to do your surgery. That is absolutely the most important elements in this.
And do you have any words of wisdom for women who suffer from endometriosis?
For women who suffer from endometriosis, I have a great deal of sympathy and respect, and I only thing that I can really offer to those women are that they need to find themselves the best medical provider that they can feel comfortable with and work with. As I stated earlier, this is a lifelong condition, and it may be repetitive treatments or may need further care from time to time. So it's a chronic illness. It's something that you really want to be able to feel comfortable with a medical provider that who's attentive and giving you the care that it's needed to be given and continue your care with. And as I said earlier, it's also important to surround yourself with people who may have similar conditions to be able to get the support from all these people that have similar experiences and maybe share some knowledge with you how they deal with these kind of circumstances. Those are, I think, the most important things when you're dealing with such chronic illness, how you can maybe minimize the effects of these things to your normal life. And you're going to have to be able to learn how to live with this condition and not let that stop you from enjoying your normal day-to-day life, because it is difficult to deal with pain. But there are treatments, there are ways to deal with it, and there is definitely support out there. It's important to go out and find those medias and those support groups.